We're in the 11th hour, okay? And in the 11th hour, things are bound to get nutty. So nutty that you get the MSNBCs of the world saying what they're saying. And then one of their head honchos over there, the woman that's married to the guy that has the big morning show, she just went on to The View. It's like, mirrors are everywhere. We're getting to see Whoopi in 3D somehow. So Mika Brzezinski goes on The View and makes this pitch about you got to go out and vote and you got to vote for Kamala because otherwise, of course.
Before you came out, we were talking earlier about yesterday's Trump rally from hell at Madison Square Garden. So what did you make of it?
Well, I think it was everything that you need to know about Donald Trump in one weird white nationalist Nazi-type rally. And, of course, there's historic parallels to where and when this happened. But
yeah, there we go again. You hear that little talking point? And she went down to look at her notes really quick. Thanks to our friends over at Media Research Center for grabbing that soundbite. But she went down and she looked at her notes because she has to go back to what they were just saying on MSNBC, which, by the way, Hillary Clinton alerted them to last week. I played you that clip last week. And then she went on just a little more because, she wasn't done.
Yeah. And guys, here's the warning. You all have set it up, but let me take it a step further, please, if I may. This is called normalization.
Yes.
This is the descent into fascism, if we so choose. Normalizing January 6th, it's a day of love. It's a day of love. I'll say it again and again and again. Normalizing enemy from within. I'll say it again and again. I'll say it again and again until you get tired of it, until it's not so funny anymore, or you think he doesn't mean it until you realize he does mean it and it's too late. Saying these strict abortion bans are a beautiful thing. Are you kidding me? We got to wake up. And here's the good news, because I come with such dire warnings, and I mean them from the bottom of my heart.
Okay. Enough, right? Lots of warnings. Lots of hysteria. She nearly cried the other day on set, and none of it's working. But can I just say, they are accusing him of doing the exact same thing that they already did to him. In other words, he hasn't actually, he was president 4 years. Did he lock up Hillary Clinton? No. And you know what? I spoke to him about it. And he said, we live in the United States of America. I realize, like it sounds good, whatever, but we're not going to do that kind of stuff. And what did they do? What did they do? Think about it.
He's called me venomous.
We will fight back to your attempt to bring Trumpism to New York City.
He's called me disgraceful.
Of the fact that they stole the Supreme Court seat. An illegitimate president and an illegitimate member of the United States Supreme Court.
He's called me radical.
Listen, we know he's crazy. We know he doesn't have a sound mind. We know he's out of control. We know he's losing it. We know his days are numbered and we will come together.
He's called me a racist.
We've got to stand up to an administration which is too male, too pale, and too stale. Too male, too pale, and too stale. Too male, too pale, and too stale.
So, I'm sorry. That to me sounds a heck of a lot worse than anything I saw at Madison Square Garden. I mean, hate to throw a dose of reality into all this, but look at what they have done. Look at the Lawfare. Look at Letitia James. I mean, for goodness sakes, Letitia James, who, by the way, is going to get her, what handed to her just any day now. Unfortunately, the way they time these things, you got to get all the way to the actual election for it all to happen. I mean, they did this very deliberately, very, very deliberately. And Letitia James went into that courtroom there at the Appellate court. Well, not her surrogate, because you see, they try to get smarter people at the Appellate court. So Judith Vale went in, but she looked like a complete fool. I mean, the woman couldn't even get started.
May it please the court, Judith Vale for the New York Attorney General's office. All of the defendants repeatedly violated...
Ms. Vale, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners, where the supposed victim had the ability and legal obligation to discover the allegedly misrepresented matters by conducting its own due diligence, where the supposed wrongdoer advised the supposed victim through written disclaimers to conduct its own due diligence and to draw its own conclusions, where the alleged misrepresentation almost entirely concerned inherently subjective valuations of properties and businesses.
Yes.
And where the victim never complained about any fraud in the transactional losses from it. Because I've gone through the cases which you've cited, and all of them always involved the consumer protection aspect. It involved protection of the market.
Several responses.
And I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
Yeah. Anyway, Letitia James is trying to find her new career path. Did you see this one? So the latest and greatest is that she's trying to actually run for mayor of New York City. So the idea that that would somehow be rewarded in any way, shape, or form is obviously quite terrifying. But nonetheless, New York Post reporting that a business advocate, a New York City business advocate, is out, like, it's stunning people, supposedly by somehow indicating that he'd be willing to endorse Letitia James for mayor there in New York City. I mean, this is really, I mean, you want to talk about being on the verge of Banana Republic stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Banana Republic stuff. They're going on about, oh, we got to preserve democracy. We got to preserve democracy, that he's the reincarnation of Hitler. And it's like, hang on. Okay. What exactly did you do to this guy? You went after him and after him and after him because you felt like you wanted to take him out. You sent this Letitia James, who's about to get her, as I said, you know what, handed to her any day now, except to get the exit plan of mayor. You sent this rabid woman out for a political vendetta against him.
I've taken on powerful interests like developers. I've taken on legislators. I've taken on landlords. I've taken on powerful interests in the city of New York because I believe in a good fight. And right now, what we need is someone who understands that you should not be afraid, not be fearful of Donald Trump. We should take him down. We should sue him all the way to bankruptcy. We should investigate his business interests. We should investigate his business holdings. We should investigate whether or not why he was once in debt and now in a position to purchase all of this property. We can do that because I've been trained to do that, and I will do that at the same time knowing the Office of Attorney General and its powers and its responsibilities and its duties. My name is Letitia James, and I plan on being the next Attorney General of the state of New York. God bless you and thank you.
I mean, who cares? Who cares if the Court of Appeals is going to throw out your court? You know, they need to disbar.
I think they're unethical, but who knows?
I want to play
drill down on this question of retribution.
I want to play this next soundbite because you just heard earlier in the show from The View and Mika Brzezinski and MSNBC and everybody talking about retribution, how he's going to go after them. But listen to him here actually explain his viewpoint.
Because against your political opponents, because you've had opportunities to walk that back. And my question is this: are you prepared to say now that you will not use law enforcement to punish or prosecute your political opponents?
Excuse me. That's what they're using on me.
Okay, so your stance is that they started
before you start this.
Yeah, I got it.
Howie, that's what they're using on me. I've got DAs. I've got everybody. They look at me. There's never been anything like this. The biggest case was the one down in Florida, and I beat it 100%. I won the case because we had number one, a brilliant judge and a judge that moved rather rapidly, and I won the case. By the way, Biden had almost the same case, but he didn't have the Presidential Records Act because he wasn't the president, just to finish. And he got off on the basis that he's incompetent, essentially that he's incompetent. And it was a strange ruling because they said, number one, he's incompetent, so he's not going to be, but the prosecutor actually said he's guilty, but he's incompetent. But they didn't say he couldn't be president anymore. That was his bigger problem for not being president. How can you not represent yourself in court because you're incompetent, but you're allowed to represent the United States of America? The whole thing is crazy. But no, they have weaponized government against me.
But are you willing to use the same tactics?
No, I don't want to
using
do
it as
that
a
because that's a bad thing for the country. I don't want to do that.
That's what's so amazing here. And yet you listen, again, we'll just listen to this lady, if you can stand her, trying to allege that he's going to do exactly that.
And guys, here's the warning. You all have set it up, but let me take it a step further, please, if I may. Mm-hmm. This is called normalization.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is the descent into fascism, if we so choose. Normalizing January 6th, it's a day of love. It's a day of love. I'll say it again and again and again. Normalizing enemy from within. I'll say it again and again. I'll say it again and again until you get tired of it, until it's not so funny.
But wait a second. Haven't they just called him the enemy over and over and over and over again? Isn't it exhausting? Isn't it exhausting that we have to keep going back to the likes of World War II? Isn't it insulting that we have to go back to that?